So, do you guys have any general questions for me? My plan is to take you to the Blackboard site, look over the syllabus, and then show you the materials for the course so you can get started. But if there was any like pressing concern or anything like that, then you know, go ahead and let me know. Nobody? Okay. So, okay. Okay. So this is what Blackboard looks like for me. And you guys should be able to see the Blackboard now. And so Brian Garcia, or do you have a mic?
Yes.
Okay, Brian, I'm going to put you in charge of watching the chat in case there's a question and just like jumping in and letting me know. Can you do that?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And because it's hard to keep everything up on my screen. And then also, if I ask for like a quick feedback of like, okay, can you see what I'm seeing? Just let me know real quick, okay? Thanks, Brian.
All right, sounds good.
So you guys should be able to see my Blackboard site. And there are two sections, and everything in terms of our video for section 8 and section 9 is combined. So that doesn't really matter. And there shouldn't be anything substantively different. I'm going to try to make sure I post everything to both sections at the same time. So there shouldn't be a big deal about that. But if I go ahead and I go to the Blackboard page and I go to course information, then you guys should see a copy of the syllabus. And I'm going to go ahead and download it. And I know you guys aren't going to be able to see this. I'm going to have to stop sharing and then go to the other document. So give me just a second. And stop share. And okay. So that doesn't look like the right thing. Share. Okay. Hold on a minute. Okay. So Brian, can you see the syllabus now?
Yes.
Okay. So the two websites that we're going to use for the course, notice that we just had the final examination period. And normally what I do for the final exam is I'll open up questions on our, I'm just going to call it Ignithium. It's econ1.ignithium.com, but the Ignithium website, and give you like 24 hours to submit your responses. So I'll just pick a time in here, and you have to excuse my dogs. Every time Amazon comes to the door, they get excited. So yeah, and then we'll be using Blackboard. Our text, which I'll show you, there's a link on Ignithium, is boundless, and we have a list of readings. But you can, and you should read through this material. There's not going to find anything that's surprising. I will have live Zoom meetings / office hours where I talk about topics, but we have pre-recorded lectures that I'll distribute. And there's also a YouTube channel, and I'll post information about the YouTube channel, and I'll show you, there's some playlists on YouTube's of previously recorded lectures, and that's what I would be assigning. So, but it dovetails, goes right together with the material. Um, there are other classes where this class is fully asynchronous, so we don't have a specific time that we have to meet. So for me, generally, our meetings, office hours, and meetings to talk about things, and maybe add to the lecture materials that are previously recorded, are going to be Tuesday at this time. That's the time that I have available. But if you have something particularly, office hours related, I'm going to try to run lecture from 11 to noon, and then from noon to 12:15. That's when I'll try to save time for people to ask individual questions. And then obviously, if you happen to have something of a personal nature that you want to talk about, I can do a breakout room, or we can wait until everybody leaves and save it to the end. I don't really imagine that there will be a lot of those types of instances, so it shouldn't be a big deal. But if for whatever reason some emergency or something like that comes up, please email me, and I'll I'm available for at other times too. I just have to schedule it in advance. And we're going to have homework, and they're homework quizzes, right? So the idea is that for most of the questions, and we'll see on the website, the Ignithium website, there are practice problems available. And there are a few tips and tricks for working with Ignithium to maximize your score, and I'll tell you about those. The main thing is that Ignithium generates random problems, and the set of problems is really big. So the chances that you would have the same problem as somebody else is really small. But um, also, that means that occasionally, when it renders, there'll be something a little bit glitchy in the way that it displays. And so what you want to do is you can select a new problem set by just reloading the page. And if you haven't answered a question on a quiz, it doesn't matter. If you've answered it, it's there. But if you haven't answered a question, you can hit reload, and then when you get a version of the question that you like that doesn't look glitchy, and like I said, it doesn't happen that often, but you'll see as we go through the class, there are certain questions that it happens more often than others, and then you can pick a version that you like and answer that one. And that would be true when we do the exam at the end too. If you haven't answered a question, you can reload and get a different version of the question, and there's no harm in doing that. In fact, it's a smart thing to do. But Ignithium, it's like a quiz in that your first answer is scored. There's no retake or anything like that. The other end of it is, there are practice questions that are identical, many of them, to the ones that are on the quiz. Not all of them. Normally what I do at the beginning of the semester is I have all of the practice questions available to answer as many times as you want to get comfortable with the answer, and then you can go take the quiz. But as the semester progresses, there's a little bit of a mismatch between the practice questions and the quiz questions. So the practice questions will still help, but you'll notice that there won't be a practice question for every quiz question. It'll be about half of them that are unique and different. But that's later on in the semester. So 60% of your grade is based on homeworks and quizzes. And most of the homeworks are and slash quizzes are on Ignithium, but there are a few, and I know of two for sure, and there might be a third one. And those are individual graphing practice questions. They also have some other information, but you actually end up turning those in I don't know if you guys are familiar or not, but there's a way you can upload documents for grading to Blackboard called Turnitin. And so as we get a little bit further in the semester, I'll release those assignments and I'll give you due dates, but those assignments are contingent on having reached a certain place in the course so you can answer them. And then normally I give about a week for people to construct their answers and submit them. But all of those things together will be about 60% of your grade. And the final exam will be about 40% of your grade. And then our economics department has adopted a curve. And you can see the curve. This was adopted about 5 years ago. The nice thing about it is, you don't have a better chance or a worse chance of getting any particular grade in this class as opposed to any other principles of microeconomics class. And, these are what we're bound to, but obviously if something really unusual happened, I would just write a memo to my department chair and let him know. But you'd also be surprised at how consistent things work out with the curve in terms of what you would expect. So generally, right, 90% of total points and above is A, and 80% of total points to 90 is B, and 70% and above is the C range, and so forth. And I've never had a case, and this is when I would write a memo, if it was the case that everybody did great, 70% of total points and above, that I would be forced to allocate 5% to Fs and 10% to Ds. That's never happened. There are various reasons, but out of everybody taking this course, and I have about 150 students this semester, there are a couple people that are just going to blow it off, and yeah, they'll get bad grades. But the way that the curve normally works out is it sometimes squeezes the A's a little bit. So like last semester, I think my lowest A minus was actually like 91%, right? Because that covered the 20%. Normally then the B's are in that 80%, maybe up to 91. But the place where the curve has the biggest effect is in the C minus category. So if you're somebody and you have 68% of total points, you're probably going to get a C minus. You wouldn't end up in the D category. So I think last semester, for example, the C minuses got dragged down to around like 67%, and that's pretty typical. So the curve tends to help people that are kind of on the border of getting what most people consider an acceptable grade. And sometimes it makes the people that want an A to really work a little bit harder. But other than that, generally the curve is what you would expect it to be, 90, 80, 70, 60. So if you're looking at your progress throughout the semester and you're wondering how you're doing, then you got a pretty good idea. And even I don't know until the final exam is all submitted and I calculate everybody's percentages and I rank order everybody. Do I know exactly where they break down? So anyway, okay. And So here's the list of readings and topics. There's just a beginning date because, again, because the class is asynchronous and we're going by week and we have a final, and I'll email you and let you know when the quizzes are due. I don't have any quizzes due until after our drop date. So that's February the 5th. And that's intentional because our only required materials are on Ignithium, but I don't want people to sign up and subscribe and pay for Ignithium and then drop the class. So for the next 10 days or so, people have an opportunity. If you'd like to go ahead and you're going to stay in the class and subscribe and get started, then you can. But you'll have to make your decision to commit by the drop date, and then after that, you'll have things that are due on Ignithium. Okay, so and here's roughly our schedule, and all of the bullet points, as you'll see, they're taken directly from the table of contents of your text. So if you want to go ahead and get started with the reading, once you register for Ignithium, you should be able to see the link for the text, and you can get started. Okay, so are there questions about that? I see chat, and does anybody want to set up a Discord? Well, I know a lot of people do, but not me. Okay, so I'm gonna
Question.
stop. Okay, go ahead.
So for the quizzes, the due dates on them, will they be inside Ignithium? Like, how will we know what days they're due?
Oh, I'll post them on Blackboard.
Okay.
And I should tell you about Ignithium. So like once I open a quiz and I tell you it's available and I say it ends, you don't want to answer the quizzes early because everything is time stamped, right? And so things might change until I tell you on Blackboard, oh, this quiz is open, and then I'll tell you. I almost always have it due at midnight on a particular day. And then as long as you submit, before midnight, you're fine. And so yeah, the readings are on Ignithium. I'll show you guys in a minute. So I'll post on Blackboard about the due dates. And what you can anticipate is like, the first 3 or 4 Ignithium assignments are going to be due around February the 8th, but as we get closer, I'll let you know. Okay. But you'll never be surprised. And then you'll see that, and this is mentioned in the syllabus, that after we get started, once we get past the drop date, then the Ignithium quizzes, there'll be about 1 to 2 due each week. So for most of the semester, it'll be close to 2, but as we get a little bit further along towards the final, it'll be like 1. And yeah, I'll give you guys plenty of notice. Okay. Okay.
I don't know if you've seen, but there was a question asking will there be PowerPoint?
So I don't upload the PowerPoints separately. Like I said, there are the lectures, right? And most of the recorded lectures that you'll see that I've recorded on YouTube to distribute, some of them have PowerPoints, and a lot of them have me drawing on the whiteboard. So yeah, I guess the answer is no, but there'll be plenty of visual material, and you can stop and start and the videos and look at them. Okay, so here is what it looks like if you navigate, and I'll go ahead and put it in chat. So this is https://1.com. Okay. And then obviously you can register. I sent you guys a message on Blackboard that's going to ask you when you register for a code. And so each section has a code. And so please put in the right section code. And for the email address, please use your Cal Poly email. That's for identification purposes. So when I match up your records at the end, I know who's who. So yeah, please use your official Cal Poly email and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to login, and once you register, you'll see there's a message that says that you're not subscribed, and then you would go to this button, which is the account button, and you could go ahead and subscribe. Mine says cancel subscription because this account that I use is subscribed. But if you weren't, then it would give you directions on how to subscribe. Okay. And there's an old syllabus here. I haven't replaced it. We have the new one on Blackboard. So I might do that later, but it's not a priority for me. And then if I go under the course materials tab, you'll notice that there's a link for Boundless. So I'm going to click on that, and you guys should be able to see the table of contents. And again, it's pretty intuitive. There's nothing, that should be surprising. But if you start at the beginning of the text, we're going to go ahead and cover most things in order. This text is comprehensive in that it covers micro and macroeconomics, but you'll see the macroeconomics are in the latter half of the text. So, we'll be covering stuff prior to this introduction of macroeconomics. And again, all of these sections are what's listed on the readings list that's attached to the syllabus. Okay. And go back. Okay. And then there's a little bit of information here, but since I'm telling you all about the information, then I won't kind of go into more details than that. There is one thing, and this actually has a dead link, and I haven't fixed it. And I just put a blurb in here about pay scale. So there's this website, and I can show you guys if it's still earnings by major. Okay, majors that pay you back. Okay, and so it's nice. You guys can go ahead and view all majors and view your major. I like this site because it tells you kind of like what and it'll give you information about starting salary. And then it'll tell you like your mid-career salary. Now, obviously, you have to take a little bit of this with a grain of salt, though, look at what the data says. This is based on survey responses, so it depends upon where the people who are the survey respondents lived, right? There are different labor markets depending upon which part of the country you're in and that sort of things. But we live in California. So salaries tend to be higher here. And so, this is a pretty good general guide. But one of the things that I like to point out, and you saw before, that economics, and I'll tell you, I'm not going to disparage anybody in the business school, but most of these like quantitative business analysis and economics, most of these people end up being econ majors, and so that's one of the reasons why I like to point it out. And if you're somebody who's a freshman or just starting out in your degree and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, it's always a good idea to have some information about what your career prospects are. So, econ's one of the best. if you get through this class and you're like, gosh, this stuff is interesting and I like it, then that's a good signal. So, all right, and I'm going to go ahead and go back to the home, and I'll show you. Here's the set of practice assignments, and go ahead and feel free to look through these. So over here is take now, and this is the thing we're going to be working on first. It's just a basic math review, though. I chose the problems on this math review, and you'll notice as you get towards the ones at the bottom, they're not all super simple, though many of them are. That there's one thing that's a little bit of a distraction I want to point out right away, and that is they have equations here, but in this class, you're not going to be using any of these equations directly. They won't be helpful. I had an option to not show them, but I thought, well, go ahead and show them. Why not? But rather, the way this class is designed is to teach you economics, and in particular, the tool that most economists use are graphical representations. And so basically, you're going to be, reading numbers off of graphs and interpreting them. And here, the graphs are just stated in terms of these equations that are general x and y equations, and that's intentional because economics is applied mathematics. But what we do is on the y-axis, right? We normally list price is our variable of interest, and on the x-axis, the quantity of output is normally our variable of interest. But it's just x and y like you're used to. So you can go ahead and take a look at these questions, and the nice thing is, so I'll show you in the practice. It says write 90 as a percentage. Now it's a little bit tricky. I could put 0.9, right, which would be 90%, but I'm going to get the wrong answer. And that's because, if you have a number that's a whole number like 1, and you ask the percentage, that's 1 is 100%. So 90 is actually going to be 9,000%, right? And so this little feedback tells you the calculation you should have performed on the back end, okay? And then here, like 30% of 98, well, I could get my calculator if I wanted to. So that's going to be 0.3 times 98. So I think that'd be pretty easy, actually, right? Because if it was 100, it would just be 30. And so it's going to be something close to 30. I'll try 28.2. But I don't know. I still have to put it back in my calculator, right, and see if I got the right answer. But the point is that with all of these questions in practice, if you want to try it again, let's just reload the page. and you'll see that all of the questions have changed, right? So I can go and I can look at the answers, I can look at the feedback, and you know, I can keep working on it. The other thing that I'll show you, and this is normally what I do. So I'm going to go ahead and open up another tab for Econ 1. Okay. So here's Econ 1 in a different tab. So I normally open up in 2 tabs, and I'm going to go to this first quiz, right? And you'll notice that all the questions are exactly the same. And well, I know this one already, right? It's going to be 103 times 100, 0, 0. And by the way, some students get confused and think, oh, well, Ignithium is looking for a calculation, and it's not. It's looking for a number. And notice here, to check the feedback, so you could ask yourself, well, did I get the right answer? I just copied that. I'm going to paste it into this calculator, and I hit equal, and this is the answer that Ignithium is looking for, okay? But this calculator only shows up on the homework quiz. So the big picture is, and I think I'll post something about this on Blackboard, Ignithium is looking for numerical answers. If you put something like this in Ignithium, which some students occasionally do, it'll score it wrong. And every once in a while, I've heard a student say, and I can't say that this is true or not true because I've never personally seen it, but they've said that once you do this, and I'll show you, I'm going to go to my grades. I'll go to my grades, and let's see here. So this is the homework quiz number 1, and it says there are 10 possible, okay? And here you can see, here's my answer, and here's the correct answer, right? So I know those would be scored correctly. And I've heard students say, and I don't know why they think this, but they think that if they put in like the formula, that Ignithium is going to score them correctly. Well, you know, maybe if it happened to show up here in this total and there was a formula there, I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but at the end, when I download the data, I would remove that as a correct answer, okay? Because it's not looking for a formula. It shouldn't be looking for a formula. I'm not looking for a formula. I'm looking for the correct numerical answer. So make sure that you put numbers in at the end and not formulas. Okay, so I'm gonna go back.
Somebody has a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it possible that I changed my email on Ignithium because I used my personal email to purchase the course already?
Well, okay. This is the problem. I already posted it on Blackboard, but I'll tell you what, Yuche, go ahead and email me, right? And tell me which email you used, and I'll try to see if there's a way that I can help reset it, okay? So just email me, okay?
Okay, thank you, Professor. I'm Yuche. I'll email you later.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So now let's see. Okay, so again, what I like to do is I have the 2 tabs open, and I'll pick one that I've already answered, right? And we know we answered this first one and we got it right. So I'll just hit submit, and then I have the calculator there available. And then I'll go into the other tab on the practice, and I'll say, oh, 30% of 82, I would do that on my calculator, but I'll just put in a random answer, 64, right? And then I can copy the feedback, and you'll notice now I can use the calculator from the quiz, and I can see, that's what my answer should be. So the other thing I'll tell you is a lot of students worry about rounding error, and that's a legitimate concern. Ignithium is going to round to this first, well, I guess the second significant digit within 1 unit either way. So Ignithium would score correctly 24.58, 24.59, and 25.00, because that's just 1 significant digit at the second decimal place higher, okay? And these other digits don't matter. They could be anything, but what matters is dollars and cents. So Ignithium will give you automatically a penny either direction. And if you use the formulas correctly, it shouldn't be a big deal, the rounding error, if you have any. So it shouldn't be a big concern with regard to the precision. It hasn't been an issue for students in the past. Some people worry about it anyway, but I'll tell you that if you're really close, like let's say it's 24.56 that you put in, Ignithium may initially score you wrong, but I will correct that at the end, okay? So you need to be careful with precision, try to be as precise as possible, and in general, it shouldn't be a big deal. But if you're really close, but you're off by more than 1 penny, then don't worry about it. I'll correct it at the end. If you start to be off by, like, if you put in like 24.4, I wouldn't give you that, and the computer won't either, or if you put in 25.7, you're too far off. But if you're really close, don't worry. When I download the data at the very end, I open up the precision just a little bit wider. But for the purposes of automatically scoring, it's just, give or take 1 penny. And yeah, I mean, we deal in dollars and cents when we're talking about economics. So pennies matter. Okay. But that's what I suggest you do is log in, go to the practice, and then open up another tab so you can have access to the calculator, and go to the homework quiz, and then you can check your answers in the practice in real time. Okay. Okay. So that's Econ 1. It's the syllabus. I've covered all that stuff. And that's basically what I wanted to cover. I didn't want to do any really substantive lecture, except I'm gonna email you guys. I have this YouTube channel, and these are prior recordings, and this is what I'll email you later today when I send out this introduction recording. But so this is the channel, Learn the Econ, and you'll see that I have, I don't know, they're like 45 different lectures divided between principles of microeconomics, intermediate microeconomics, and I think there may be a few other upper division classes there. But it's always helpful if you subscribe, because then you'll get notices when stuff has been even though I plan on posting the links, but you might get them a little bit quicker if you're subscribed to the channel. And then also if you wanted to, browse the other materials, you'll see that they have titles that correspond to topics that are being covered. And I just started to create these playlists, and this first playlist is this part 1, supply and demand for principles of microeconomics. These other playlists are for my intermediate class, but this one is all the stuff that we're covering probably at least in the first month or 5 weeks of class. So it's a really good place for you to start, and that's what you guys want to do. Okay. Okay, so I'll ask you, I'm going to go ahead